Okay, hello everybody. We are not going on to anything new today. Completing the square yesterday was one of the more difficult things that we've done, and I think we could all use some practice. So, I want to do a couple on this video and then give you this worksheet just to practice for the rest of the period. So, when you're going through this today, keep in mind what a perfect square looks like. So, if I have x squared plus 6x, I know that if it is a perfect square, the c term has to be half of this squared. So if it's a perfect square, this has to be 9. Okay? So when you're going through today, you are completing the square because they're not exactly like that. If you were to build these with tiles, there'd be something missing. It wouldn't make a perfect square. So you are essentially completing it. So let's take number 1. If this was a perfect square as it's written, half of 2 is 1 and 1 squared is 1, not -3. So because of that, I need to modify this equation by completing the square. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a squared plus 2a, and then I am going to create a c value that would make this a complete square. So half of 2 is 1 and 1 squared is 1. So I put a 1 right there. So now I have completed the square. I still need to write this -3 that we have out here, and it is going to equal 0. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to write this so it is a product of its factors. So this is the area of something, and we need to get its sort of base times height type deal. So what we would have been practicing in AGS is that this turns into a plus 1 squared, and if we were to FOIL that, it would turn right back into this. And then we have -3. Now, we changed the equation right here. We modified it from its original form. So all of these two lines here and here are the same except for this. So what we need to do to compensate for adding 1 to this equation is we need to take away 1. So I'm going to, and I should have written it up here too, but I need to, now that I've done that, I'm going to also take away 1, and that's equal to 0. So a plus 1 squared minus 4 is equal to 0. And that's as far as we took it yesterday, which is a little weird to have completing the square not in the form of an equation. I couldn't find practice problems that didn't have it without the equal sign, but the equal sign is not that difficult because you just use basic algebra from here. So I would add 4 to both sides, and I'd have a plus 1 squared is equal to 4. And then I would take the square root of both sides, and I'd have a plus 1 is equal to, stay with me here, positive -2. Because the square root of 4 is both 2 and -2. And then I would take away 1 from both sides, and I get a is equal to positive 2 minus 1 is 1. And let's see, -2 minus 1 is -3. So this whole thing is a quadratic right here. And if we were to graph it, which we're going to do later, if you can picture it, its a value is positive. And right here we have it in vertex form, actually. So we know that a is equal to 1, and we know that the vertex is -1, -4 down here. And we know that these are actually the roots where it crosses the x-axis. It's kind of weird the way this all ties together. And that's what the parabola of this equation would actually look like. Okay, let's do just one more or so, just so you guys got the hang of it. Okay, so number 2, what I have here, I check it to see if it's a complete square right off the bat. Half of negative 2 is 1, and 1 squared is not negative 8. So I'm going to write out a squared minus 2a, and then I'm going to complete the square. And then I'm going to minus 8. And I think, okay, well, how did I change from what's above? I added 1, so I also have to take away 1. And that is going to equal, that's going to equal 0. So now I'm going to write it essentially in vertex form, which is a minus 1 squared minus 9 is equal to 0. And then I'm going to add 9. And a minus 1 squared is 9. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And a minus 1 is equal to positive negative 9. And then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And a is equal to 10. And a is also equal to negative 8, because negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. And that is how the first two work. Don't worry about graphing it like this.